Hello everybody, welcome back to the classroom. Hi, how are you guys doing? So today, particularly in this class, we are going to talk about the cost audit documentation and the process which is required to be carried out by the cost auditor when it comes to conducting audit. Now, the very first part which we are going to discuss, see, when it comes to conducting your examinations, that is one and the same thing. See, what happens first of all? That when it comes to your examination, I'm not talking about those things like whether the examinations are going to be online, offline. Let it be like whatever the scenario is going to be. So in that kind of a situation, when it comes to these kind of examinations, so first of all, what is going to happen? They are going to allocate examination centers. Right, so this is going to be the phenomena, allocate examination center, and after that they are going to find out and students that if I tell you that institute is going to decide in which state how many students are there. Once the number of students are going to be finalized, people are going to fill their examination forms, then institute is going to decide that how many centers they need across a particular state. Right, in which area, from which. So it should not be like that if a student has filled his examination form from Delhi, he has to go to like 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers for in order to appear for examination. It should not be like that. So the very first is allocation of examination centers and assigning students a reasonable or a proper examination center is very important. The next is then you are going to appear for your examinations. That there comes a performance stage. So over here, can I call it as a planning stage? Can I call it as a planning stage? That this is a kind of planning which is required to be carried out by institute. That yes, we got 1,20,000 students are going to appear in this examination, and this is the list of students who are appearing from, let us say, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Kerala, Telangana. Right? So they have got a diversified list. According to that list, they are going to fill up the examination forms. Now moving ahead, my dear students, so that is a stage where we need to plan things. So just like that, in every situation, whether you are going for a holiday, or let us say you are going for you are planning a holiday, or let us say you are going for a meeting, you need to plan a lot of things. And after that, here comes the performance. Now what you are going to do, you are going to appear for examinations, right? Then that means you are going to appear in examinations. Sir, we are going to do our best, blah, 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 and so many things. If I talk about institute, from institute's perspective, it is going to be like that institute is going to conduct examination. So can I say that this is all about the performance part? Or you can say the execution part? Yes, absolutely correct. Apart from that, after that, there will be the declaration of result. Declaration of result. Now the next part which is over here is that is conclusion and reporting. And reporting on audit. Conclusion and reporting on audit. That means a very simple phenomena. Just like you have given your results, after that you will be getting the result of whatever so far you have written into your examinations, right? So just like that, there will be a result on auditing. So just like this, our audit process is being continued. The very first is all about the auditor is going to plan the things that he's going to plan, because it is very important in order to find out the various procedures which are going to be performed. From this plan itself, we are going to find out how much effective and how much efficient, how much you can say efficiency and effectiveness is there in our cost audit process. Apart from that, if we talk about the next part, which is the performance part itself, the performance part over here talks about the execution part, because over here we are going to cover each and everything in detail. Right, so that is all about the cost auditor is going to conduct a detailed test of internal controls, internal checks, the various kind of, you can say apportionments, absorptions, the materials which you are consuming, the captive consumption, or each and everything is going to be determined over here. Apart from that, if we have the next part which is over here, my dear students, that is all about the declaration of result. Over here, what it means is that whatever you have done over here, you are going to collect the evidences. The evidences in order to find out that whether there is any kind of error or fraud which is involved in cost statements. right? The very first risk, if anybody talks about that, what is the risk which we have over here? The risk which we have over here, that means, is there any kind of error? Is there any kind of fraud which is involved in cost statements? Right? That is something which we are going to find out over here, my dear students, and talking about the next part. After that, here comes the declaration of result. The declaration of result over here straight away talks about that, yes, after that, after conducting a lot of detailed, you can say detailed checks, or you can say finding out the after detailed testings, detailed examinations, the auditor is going to find that whether the cost audit records are true enough, are they fair enough to depict the true picture, or is there any kind of an errors or fraud which the management is trying to commit over here. Maybe they are going to tell you that, yes, we are doing a lot of things, right? The material consumption that is excessive. There is, there is requirement of a layoff. The diversification is not proper, or anything. The materials which you are using or the machinery which you are using, that is not proper. So, that is all about. After that, this part is going to be like giving a conclusion, and this conclusion will be straight away on the basis of evidences. See, if you are going to tell anybody that, yes, I am very happy with this company just because they are performing really well, in order to support your statement, you need to give some evidences. You need to give some evidences which you have gathered so far, and those evidences are gathered over here in execution part. When you are doing auditing, it is your duty as a cost auditor that you are going to find out the various evidences which you find over there, and after that you are going to use those evidences in order to draw the conclusion on audit. Moving ahead, my dear students, in talking about the next part which we have over here, now we are going to start our chapter today itself. So this was all about the kind of background, that how things were going on so far. Next is the cost audit documentation. See, just like we have this classroom with us over here. So what happens every time that you are making certain kind of notes? When you are studying with me, you are making certain kind of notes, and after that, those notes are concluded when a particular chapter ends. And after that, if we talk about in a much broader sense, right? So over here, there comes a register. You have prepared a register for like cost and management audit, and after that, there will be chapter, and there will be notes. You can say like topic wise. So just like that, there's a very wider term named as audit documentation. There's a very much wider term named as audit documentation, which covers the various kind of working papers. See, in your notes, there are going to be illustrations. There are going to be, you can say, questions. There are going to be like these kind of theoretical notes. There are going to be examples. So over here, audit documentation means the various kind of papers which are being prepared by the cost auditor when he is performing his audit. Okay, so audit documentation also includes, do you remember, it includes audit working papers. Audit working papers. Now, sir, what is the difference? What is particularly the audit working paper? So they are all the time they are related only with the audit evidences. They are the main purpose of audit working papers is to record all audit evidences which are obtained so far during the course of audit. Whatever the audit which has been conducted by the cost auditor, in order to support his statement, he is going to gather a lot of evidences, and those evidences are prima facie recorded in audit working papers. So if I tell you about audit documentation, remember that engagement letter which we discussed earlier, in which the auditor is going to finalize with the company itself that what kind of remuneration he will be getting, and what are the various things which are going to be there, like what is going to be the scope of work, who is going to be the reporting authority, how much time will be given to the auditor to conduct audit, and what is the purpose of doing the audit. Is it as a statutory requirement, or you have some information like the error or fraud you want to find out, or is there any kind of information like you want to know about that the materials which are being consumed, they're effective or not. You want to know about the cost consumption, or what is the purpose particularly. So that audit engagement also forms a part of audit documentation. But specifically, audit working papers means that you are going to include the evidences only. Got it? Now, moving ahead, my dear students, now talking about the next part which we have over here is the very first is audit documentation, right? I mean, you guys can go through with this. Sir, what is audit file? See, audit file means just a record. See, whatever you are going to study today, you are definitely going to make a register for that. You must be making a register, or you must be making a file of that. Or if we talk about, there are certain kind of students who prefer things in PDF format or in soft copies. So whenever you are doing, you are making a folder now. So just you must be having a folder for a particular subject where you will be getting a lot of classes. So just like that, audit means where one or more folders or other storage media that can be in any form, that can be in physical format, in form of registers, or that can be in soft copies as well, like PDF files or your Word files or whatever it be like that. Right? So do remember, audit file is again a part of audit documentation, and audit working papers are again a part of audit documentation. Audit documentation means every kind of material which is associated with audit only. Right? Moving ahead towards the next part, the next is audit stage. If we talk about audit stage, what are the various kind of audit stages? This is something which we have preferred already over here: planning, performance, and reporting. So what they have, how they have summarized, the very first is planning, after that they have the performing part, and at the end they have the reporting stage with themselves. Now the very first part which we are going to talk about over here is, my dear students, that is planning. So if we talk about planning, in order to plan, whenever we are planning about to study, I know it's quite difficult to make any kind of plans when you are going to study, right? It sounds very difficult because we have n number of factors which are involved, and from where our studies are going to be diversified, or you can say distracted, not diversified. It's like distracting. So first of all, if we talk about a good planning, how we can plan things better. So just like, let us say that you are planning something. As you guys know that I'm already there in law as well. So let us suppose that we are going to plan few things for law, right? So first of all, you need to understand the subject itself, that what kind of subjects are over there. After that, you need to understand that what are the most important chapters. And after that, you are going to understand that how you are going to deal with them. So just like that, when it comes to planning, it's all about understanding the entity and the environment. That means entity, that means the auditee entity. Auditee entity means the entity for which you are going to conduct audit. After that, the risk identification and the strategy. After that, the risk and materiality assessment. That means you are going to plan a lot of things over there, that how the audit is going to be conducted. So each and everything which is going to be associated with like planning lies over here. The next part is all about performing. Over here is execution. That means you have made a plan over here. Now you are going to apply. You are going to move as per your plan in the performance part itself. Sir, can things be like different from the plan itself? That depends upon the situation. If you have discovered any error. So that is something which we are going to talk about in auditing standards, that if we got certain kind of errors over there, or if we found that yes, somebody is going to commit a fraud, how we are going to deal with that situation. Each and everything is covered into the what do you call it as, that is covered into your audit part. The next is audit procedures. What kind of procedures we are going to apply, and what are the various findings. At the end, we have the last part, which is reporting. That means you are going to conclude in your audit report, and you are going to finally prepare your cost audit report. Preparing this cost audit report, you are going to submit the same to the management only, right? And after that, if required in this situation, what they are going to do next, they are going to share the same with the shareholders. They are going to share the same with the shareholders only. Right? Got it? Understood? Understood? That would be definitely required, as we talk about, section number 134 of Companies Act straight away talks about that, yes, when it comes to board report, if the cost audit applies onto your company, then it is required for the company itself to attach the cost audit report into the board report itself, which will be forwarded to the shareholders, and they are going to look after the same. They are going to consider the same when in the annual general meeting. So moving ahead, my dear students, it's easy to understand the phenomena or the procedure, that is PPR, planning, performing, and reporting. This is the phenomenon. Now moving ahead and talking about the next topic which we have over here, and this is something which we have already covered, right? So I'm going to explain these things to you guys, just like in a broader way, not we are not going to talk about, I mean, we're just going to take a glimpse of this, not in a broader way. So I mean, the very first part is performing an audit. That means we are going to plan it, because we straight away believe, okay, it is written over here. There's a saying like which says that a well begun is half done. So what they have said over here, the well planned audit is almost halfway done. So that is a strong saying, because planning, that means understanding your client and identifying the factors which are going to impact your audit. That means the various factors which are involved in the cost statements, which can impact, which can have a huge risk onto your cost audit records. That is something which you are going to identify. And after that, so over here it is involves determining the overall strategy, as well as identifying the nature and the timing of the procedure which are required to be performed. So this is all about that you are going to find out the efficiency and effectiveness. Do remember, efficiency and effectiveness both are different terms. Efficiency over here and effectiveness. Effectiveness means you are going to minimize your risk. See, minimize risk which is associated. So what kind of risk we have over here? That is there any kind of errors or frauds? Are there any kinds of error or fraud in the cost audit, cost records itself? That is my effectiveness. Right? So that means we are going to minimize the risk itself. So do remember that audit, by doing an audit, one cannot say that it's 100% absolutely correct, because audit do have certain kind of limitations. Right? So I still remember that there are a lot of people who say that yes, if the accounts are audited, now we are not liable. It's not like that. Every audit does have certain kind of limitations. Right? Now the next is efficiency. Efficiency is all about that how much time you have spent on in order to get a particular evidence. See, whatever you are going to say, it's not like that we are not going to talk about childish things, right? If we have just said it's okay, if that's not found, it's okay. It's not okay. Whenever you are going to draw a conclusion, that should be supported by the n number of evidences which are over there with you guys. Do remember, whenever it comes to any conclusion, whenever it comes to any statement which you are going to make, that should be supported with certain kind of evidences. If you are saying that the material consumption is not up to the mark, there is wastage, you need to prove that. If you are saying that yes, machine hours are not utilized properly, you need to prove that. Just give them the machine hours list, give them that yes, these people are working, so you do have shortage of staff. The machine hours is like 24 hours you can use them. You have the concerned orders, but you don't have the proper staff to use that machinery. Right? If you are telling them that no, I mean the records are not properly maintained, you need to prove that. You need to just show the images that yes, these are particularly the situations of your record. The entries are not made properly. So you need to prove those things properly. And if you want the effectiveness or efficiency in your audit, do remember the planning should be good. Apart from that, moving ahead. So sir, can I say that this is just a graphical, or you can say the graphical depiction? Yes, that is something which we are just planning, just like preparing a timetable which I am going to follow in future. I don't know when I'm going to follow that, but it's okay. I still remember when I was a student, every time whenever I passed my examinations, or there was a time when in my finals, I failed somewhere as well. So things are like that. So I mean, it's all about that. We used to prepare a timetable, but when it comes to following the same, it becomes really difficult. Right? It becomes really difficult. Now, moving ahead, now the planning is very much required. The next is all about that yes, you are going to perform the same, or you can say now here comes the execution part. Whatever you have said so far, whatever you have covered so far, that means we are going to implement the same over here. Okay. That means there is going to be a proper detailed testing of the various internal controls, the material consumptions that you have allocated, you have finalized that yes, this is my COGS, how you have concluded them. That is something which they are going to find out. They are going to find out that yes, whether the internal controls which you have prepared, or the various kind of internal controls which you have, are they up to the mark or not? So you are going to, I mean, being as an auditor, what we are going to find out, we are going to have a detailed analysis of the audit procedures. I mean, of those internal controls, right? And we are going to find out that whether is there any kind of error or fraud which is involved into those kind of cost audits or not. The auditor is going to find out that whether the cost statements are fairly presented or not. Okay, so sir, it means over here, just like the examiner, just like the examiner is going to find out. So appear an examination, that means just like examination, the examiner is going to read out your each and every answer, just like the auditor is going to conduct the same phenomena. Right, he's going to look after each and every cost record, and after that they are going to tell you, they're going to figure it out that whether the cost statements are fairly presented or not. And at the end we have the conclusion, that means the reporting on the audit stage. That means the very last part is the cost auditor is going to prepare a cost auditor report. Cost auditor report. He is going to prepare that kind of a cost auditor report. And my dear students, do remember that this cost auditor is going to prepare his report, and in this report he is straight away going to tell them that where there is a kind of fair representation, do not write over here true and fair picture of financial statements. That was in statutory audit, not over here. Fair representation of cost statements. Of cost statements, right? So that is something, that is the kind of opinion which the cost auditor is going to express in the cost auditor report. At this point of time, the cost auditor is going to particularly, draw the data on the basis of various knowledges, various tests. So this report, that means conclusion, that means conclusion, and this conclusion will be drawn on basis of the various evidences or the detailed examination of the internal controls which have been done so far. Let it be like on if we talk about those kind of items related to the cost itself, or let it be like transactions, the internal controls, or the various you can say the cost drivers or the heads of cost. Whatever examinations you have conducted so far, whatever the detailed testings you have done so far, now you are going to draw a conclusion over there. Moving ahead to the next part, my dear students, the next is all about, again, those things are written over here. So what we are going to find out, see. So this is again an audit process. So what we have covered so far, now we are going to elaborate them properly using a diagram which is given over here. See, the audit process is just like that. The activity is over there. What kind of activities are going to be there? See, the very first is planning phase. The planning phase means you are first of all going to plan things, and after that we are going to find out what is the purpose of such planning. See, your planning phase includes these two parts. Right, these two parts. So first of all, you are going to find out the preliminary engagement activities. That means using them, what is the purpose, so that you will come to know about the entity itself, and you are going to find out that how much risk is involved. See, you can accept any kind of, any engagement letter, but being as a cost auditor, only those engagement letters or only those cost audits are required, particularly, when we are going to accept them, it's just due to that, I'm sorry, whenever we are going to talk about any kind of cost audit, let us say I'm having a word with one of the organizations where we are going to accept that cost auditing part. So, what are the various factors which are going to determine that whether we are going to accept that or not? The very first is the risk factor which is going to be involved. Is that organization a sound organization in terms of like they're following the proper ethics, they're maintaining proper records? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find out the risk factor. Whether, is there any kind of like, will it affect my engagement, or will it affect my independence? Sorry, will it affect my independence if I'm going to be associated with them? So that is independence. The next is engagement letter, right? And so these are particularly the factors. And after that, you are going to find out that whether you are going to sign the engagement letter. Engagement letter does not mean engagement. That means you have taken over that project, or you can say you have taken over the responsibility of conducting the audit. After that, you are going to plan the audit. That yes, you are going to conduct the audit. You have finally decided that yes, we have accepted the engagement, and if it's a yes, that means you are going to plan the audit. If that's no, it's okay. We are not going to move ahead. Now, the next part is all about that you are going to develop an overall strategy. Now, over here, looking about just like over here, you just came to know about the organization itself. If an organization is a huge, or you can say a large size entity, you would be needing a good audit team. right? You need to find out that what is the purpose, why the audit, why they need the audit itself. So I mean, there are a lot of factors which you are going to decide. You are going to finalize your team, you are going to finalize your strategy. So being as a cost auditor, you are not going to visit the company on daily basis. Your team will visit them, right? So then audit team discussion and audit strategy, that how you are going to conduct the audit. So that is a plan which is required to be developed over here. The next over here, the part which is like the performing phase. Performance phase, first of all, it includes the very first part, performing the audit procedures. Now, what does it mean with the audit procedures? That means you are going to find out the various areas. You are going to identify, or you can say you are going to understand the various processes which are going on in the organization itself, so that you can find out that yes, these are the risky areas. That depends upon the areas particularly, right? So you're understanding the entity and its process, identifying and assessing the material misstatements. So the error, or you can say the risk which is associated with the cost auditor, is only about the errors and frauds. He is appointed as a cost auditor in order to find out the errors or frauds in the cost statements, if there are any. That is your primary duty. If you are unable to find out them, I'm sorry, you don't have any role to play then. The next is, the very first is, you are going to find out the various kind of risk. Let it be like business risk or any kind of fraud risk is over there, or you can say the transactional risk or the cost items which have been prepared by the company itself, if there is any kind of risk which is involved with them. The next is design and implementation of internal controls. How the internal controls are properly designed. Are they designed properly? I mean, is there still any chance of conducting a fraud or into internal controls? See, let me give you a very simple example for them. See, let us suppose if I tell you that there is one person who is taking care of cash, right? There is one person who is taking care of cash. He is responsible for the cash entries into your cash book, and he is also responsible for payments. He is again responsible in order to have the locker keys, right? So I'm over here, it's all about the segregation of duties. If we have like segregation of duties, if I tell you that the phenomena is working like this, A, B, C. See, if anybody is going to come for payment, so they are going to A from accounts department. A will be approached for payment. Once A is going to finalize, then B is going to make payment. B will pay them cash, right? He will find out the payment. He will figure out payment, that whether how much payment is required, to whom it is required. He will figure out the various kind of purchase bills. Right, after that he is going to pay cash, and C is going to verify the same. Over here now the risk has been reduced. One is going to find out that whether the goods have been actually received or not, how much payment is required, right? After that somebody is going to pay them, and at the end he is going to verify that whether if the payment is like for 10,000 rupees have been paid out from the locker itself, 10,000 rupees have been deducted from the account, or is there anything like that 10,000 rupees were required to be paid, you have paid like 20,000 rupees, right? I know it's a kind of, I mean, a basic example, but it's okay. It's all about the understanding. See, if we are involving more people, right, then the efficiency is going to increase. The chances of frauds and errors. See, I still remember that in ancient times, not in, I am not talking about those 19s, right? I mean 90s. I'm talking about those ancient times when there was a person named as Munimji. He used to look after each and every transaction which is going on into the organization. But now, just because of segregation of duties, the duties have been divided among a lot of people. The chances of fraud have reduced. Moving ahead and talking about the next is the risk of material misstatements, which is over there at the statement level or at the assertions level. That is something which you are going to find out. See the various kind of risk which may be involved over there. The next is all about, now you are going to find out the overall design, the overall responses, and how you are going to perform the audit overall, right? So, I mean, see, when it comes to planning things and when it comes to actually implementing them, it makes a lot of difference. When we are planning things, things are different. But once we are into a particular audit, now the difference will come. Sir, how you can say that? It's very simple. See, just like you have prepared a timetable, but when it comes to actually implementing it, you suddenly find out a guest has arrived. somebody has arrived onto your place, or there's a kind of emergency. So just like that over there you understood the production process completely, and over there after that you are going through with those cost audit records, but suddenly you came to know about the company has not maintained certain material cost records. Now how you are going to move further? So sir, I'm just going to update my strategy, and I'm going to update my audit plan itself. Yes. So that is all about the various kind of response which you should be prepared, because there may be a risk of material misstatement. You just came to know about an error which was over there into the cost records. Now how you are going to find out? You come to know about the there was an error in cost sheet. How you are going to find out, right? So that is something which is already dependent upon the ground level, that what kind of things are over there. The next is response of to the associated risk of material misstatement, right? So whenever it comes to any kind of risk, we can accept the risk if that is onto a very low level, or else what we are going to try, we are going to reduce the risk. That is acceptable. It is acceptable. Like if we talk about an organization having a you can say the cost sheet says itself like 110 crore rupees, and the risk is over there like 2 lakh rupees. It is acceptable. We can take that risk, right? So how we are going to reduce the risk? By using the staff supervision, right? So the people are doing work, but there must be a supervisor who's looking after each and everybody. So just like that, the staff is supervising everybody. They knows that the person who is in charge of each and everything, or you can say who is taking charge of things at the ground level itself, he's aware of them. The next is all about, so you are going to find out the various kind of works which have been performed, what are the various findings into the audit, and after that you are going to review the working papers. So what is working papers? Just like you prepare your working notes into accounts, it is just like that. After that, you are going to evaluate the audit evidences which you have obtained so far. You are going to find out that yes, are they sufficient to draw the conclusion itself, or is there any kind of additional work which is required? If that is required, that's great. You are going to perform them again. You are going to find out the responses. You are going to implement those responses. You are going to see. This is particularly the phenomena 1, 2, 3. So if additional work is required, you are going to apply 1, 2, 3 again. Got it? You are going to apply 1, 2, 3 again. If that is not required, great. That is not required, then great. Go ahead, right? So apart from that, and at the end, you are going to prepare the cost auditor report. Sir, that performance phase, we didn't get it properly. That is something which we are going to discuss, for like next 50 hours. That's why I have completed that in a hurry, or in a speed, you can say, right? So it's all about, you are going to find out the various kind of findings which you are going to get over there. You are going to use them in drawing the conclusion. So form on the opinions based on the cost audit findings, and after that you will make a decision and you will give your opinion over there. That's all, my dear students. So this was a kind of the same thing which we have been discussing from last half an hour. Now the practical steps we are going to find out, that how does it make sense, how it is going to work in the practical life itself. The very first is objectives of audit and management outlook. The very first, as I have mentioned earlier also, the very first is understanding the need of your client. Just like you are going to visit a doctor, there you are going to find out, the doctor is going to find out that yes, what is your requirement? What is your requirement? What you need basically. So there may be like a lot of reasons that why the management is looking for cost audit. The very first is it statutorily required? That means this audit is applicable under Companies Act under section number 148. That is the only reason that the company wants to go for cost audit. That means that is with the statutory requirements, that they just want to follow the statutory requirement, just like people used to wear helmets. That's it. They just want to avoid the traffic challan. They don't have any issues about the safety itself, right? Or else, apart from statutory requirement, they do have some other purposes in their mind. That is, they may be looking forward like we need to identify that from which products we are making profit, from which products which products are loss making profits for us, or loss making us. for loss-making products and the profit-making products, they want to identify that, or else they would just want to know about that whether we are looking for market expansion, market diversification, what should be our approach. Apart from that, if they are looking for product diversification, or they want to change their product mix, that means the various kind of raw materials which they are using, they want to change that. They want to figure out their operational efficiency, that how much a particular unit or a particular department is functioning, what is their efficiency level, or else they are looking for certain kind of cost reductions. So the statutory requirement is one of the main purposes, that is absolutely correct. But do they have one more purpose, an additional purpose in their mind, which may be any of them? Now the very first is the cost auditor now need to understand the second part, which is again very important, that is preconditions. See, nobody is going to accept that kind of a work over in which the risk is very much and the outcome is very low. Just like, let us say you are being paid for a cost audit and the risk is very high and the remuneration is not that much. So do not accept, do not go for that. So the very first is, being as a cost auditor, we need to understand that what are going to be the various areas, what is going to be the scope of audit, and we are the only one, the cost auditor is going to conduct the cost audit solely. That means he's going to be the only cost auditor, or he will be accompanied by some other cost auditors. So the number of cost auditors which are going to be appointed. Apart from that, what is the purpose of cost audit? Apart from that, the reporting period generally lies for a particular period, that means for a financial year, right? And the statutory deadlines, within how much time they need to complete their audit and submit their report. Do not need to remember each and every part. And apart from that, there is one more important task that you need to, particularly the management of the company. Let us suppose you are conducting audit for XYZ Limited. The management of XYZ Limited should be properly aware about their responsibilities. See, you need to, figure out, you need to evaluate, or you can say you need to verify those post records. But for them, the management of the particular company, they need to help you guys, they need to coordinate with you in order to help you, that if you need certain kind of cost records, you don't know where they are placed. So the management is going to help you that yes, these are the records, you can go through with them. In case if you find certain kind of errors over there, the management is going to tell you that these are the errors, this is something, a manual error, we are going to correct it, right? So whenever you are facing, see, it is just like a normal audit. So what happens, let us suppose that you are going through with the cost sheet, right? And over there you just came to know about certain errors. So what are these errors? You are going to note these errors into your audit working papers. After that, noting them into your audit working papers, now you are going to discuss the same with the management of the company. That management of the company, what they are going to do, they are going to straight away. See very carefully. This management is going to give you a clarification on this, that yes, this is an error, we are going to correct it, right? And if you are not satisfied with them, mention them in your cost audit report, that we are not satisfied with the representation which has been given by the management. The next is work and responsibilities. What are the various works? What are the various responsibilities? The very first is maintenance of cost records. That means it is the responsibility of the company to maintain cost records. Cost auditor is just going to conduct audit only. It is not the duty of, just like an examiner is going to verify your answer sheet, he is not going to write the answers over there. It is your duty to write answers. It is just like that. It is the responsibility of the company to prepare cost auditor, and if cost auditor is it is responsibility of the company to prepare cost records, and it is straight away the responsibility of the company to produce those cost records to the cost auditor for the purpose of cost audit. Right? And do remember that the cost audit or the cost statement should be prepared as per the applicable standards. Do remember, as per the cost accounting standards, they should be applied, and the proper cost accounting policies should be also applied. Just like you do have accounting policies, you have accounting standards, we have cost accounting standards, we have costing framework, everything is there. Right? And apart from that, if the cost auditor wants to look after the books of accounts or the cost records or any other relevant documents of the company, so which may be a supportive part towards the cost records, so the management should be responsible for allowing the access to the auditor for each and every information which are relevant for the purpose, and if the cost auditor is being like that, yes, they are interested in order to figure out those things. The next is providing additional information, right? In case the cost auditor requires certain kind of clarification on a particular error, it is the responsibility of management to provide for that, to go for that clarification, to clear each and every doubt which is over there in the mind of cost auditor. Else, sir, if we are not going to clear that, the auditor is going to mention into the audit report, and after that we may have to explain it to everybody that why such error has taken place, right? So see, in every company there are a lot of people who are straight away you can say the gems of the company, and nobody is allowed to access those people, right? So in case if the cost auditor is looking forward to meet such kind of people who are not generally available to meet people, so this is again the responsibility of the management, allow unrestricted access to the persons within the company, right? Wherever the cost auditor determines it is necessary, where the cost auditor finds that yes, this person may have certain kind of evidences, we just want to check with them, great, go for it. And apart from that, and giving them the proper representation in case any kind of errors are over there, or wherever the cost auditor faces certain kind of ambiguities in mind, right? So these are particularly the, I mean, after that definitely they are going to decide the audit fees, but do remember these are the factors which are going to decide that how much fee will you be getting, right? So if the management, so you can also write it over here like this may be one of the questions, like what is going to be the responsibility of management. So this is the responsibility of management, as simple as that. And these factors are going to decide your fees, that how much fee you will be getting as in order to conduct the cost audit, right? Moving ahead, my dear students, talking about the next part. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the next thing. That is, next is all about understanding the company's business. That what kind of business the company which is looking forward to get the cost records audited it's doing. So that means understanding the product which they are manufacturing, understanding the various kind of, factories or units which you can say, understanding their ownership structure, that whether they are equity oriented, right? Whether they are in partnership with somebody, whether they have all of their funds, whether how much, lenders are involved in that. So the understanding that kind of ownership structure. So that means see, if we talk about Indian companies, that promoters are very much, you can say, shy to give their ownership to somebody else. If we talk about Reliance only, Reliance, Mukesh Ambani, they are holding like 47%. So that is a kind of feeling which they have. They don't want to give their ownership to anybody. So now moving ahead, and as we talk about the next thing, so what kind of business does the company is doing? Next is their ownership structure, their corporate structure, or you can say, and apart from that, the various kind of branches which they have. How many areas they are working, what are the various units which they have. Apart from that, what kind of accounting setup they have. They are doing their accounting on their own, or that has been given to a third party who is taking care of accounts. If that has been given to a third party, the cooperation is going to be like next to nil. Why they are going to cooperate with you? They are will be looking forward. The cost auditor should be somebody who is already in their known. And apart from that, you need to understand the industry in which such company is operating. And apart from that, moving on to next, you need to understand that how many subsidiaries, joint ventures, associates are over there. What is their purchase policy? Let us suppose that if they are purchasing something, what is their purchase policy? When it comes to sales policy, sir, what is sales policy? Like if they have made any kind of sales, what is their sales return period? What is their sales return period? When it comes to purchase, what are the various standards, or what are the various parameters on which a particular purchase is made, right? And what are the various people you are holding what if we talk about what various HODs in every department who are head of department in finance, accounting, costing, IT and all. And apart from that, what about the inventory? And how much minimum inventory is required, what is your pricing policy, and how you are is the company actually adopting the policy of physical verification of inventories, how they are managing their inventories? It should, the inventory, if whatever stands in books of accounts, is it available when it comes to in person? Is it physically available or not? Apart from that, you need to understand that what kind of transactions are going on into the company. So is the company doing any kind of transactions with the outsiders, or they are just working for the related parties only? Just like Maruti has some kind of companies who are over there into the Maruti joint venture complex only. In that joint venture complex, whatever the companies which are over there so far, 98% of the production is given to Maruti only. In that situation, they are just doing business with the one company itself, and they are not taking care of rest of the people itself. and what kind of tax structure do they have. If we talk about GST applicability, right, you need to understand they are taking proper credits, or the tax structure is proper, where the applicability of tax, I mean the, you can say, taxable event, that is identified properly or not, right, or the applicable event. Apart from that, the very most important part is lies at the internal control systems and the internal audit systems. If they are conducted properly, if the internal controls are working effectively, do remember, my dear students, the chances of getting any kind of errors or frauds are already minimized, right? And apart from that, you need to look after that how they are identifying risk. See, it is very important to first of all mention these 2 points: internal control. Do remember them. Do remember them all the time: internal control and internal audit. And if you want to write over there, like risk management, what kind of risk management systems they have, they are very much important points from a cost auditor perspective, and plays a very much, gives a very much impression if you are writing about the company's business, right? Sir, apart from that, still there are a lot of things like what kind of accounting system they have, what kind of MIS they have. They are operating on MIS, right, DSS, or on EIS. What kind of their systems they are following, what kind of procedures they are following when it comes to transaction recordings. Now, moving ahead, my dear students, a lot of companies are still using that ERP and MIS models. But still, very soon they will be shifted to artificial intelligence, as you guys know that. Now, the next is all about planning audit. Sir, I mean, every time you are telling us the same thing. See, well, you started over here, right? And when it comes to examination, this part is going to be there if it comes to a descriptive part. If a question for like 6 marks is going to come, you just need to remember the steps over here. Write down the step, give them 3 to 4 points, that will be all. If it comes to a descriptive question, it can only be raised over here. Now, planning the audit, first of all, it requires that within how much time, see, within how much time, for which financial year you are conducting audit, right? How much time do you have? And because in during this time you need to plan an audit, you need to find out, let us say if the company is saying we have 20 units, right, you are not, how many units you are going to visit. Accordingly, you are going to have the number of audit people who are going to be involved with you, like the audit team members, right? So that is something again which you need to find out. Planning the audit include timing, level and number of audit personnel to be deployed. Apart from that, the audit partner to be deployed, who is, I mean, how many days he's going to be there on a particular unit. Like let us say you have 300 days and you have 20 units to cover. You cannot tell one of your partners to take care of all 20 units. He can supervise, but he cannot each visit, because there are restrictions, there are some timing issues. He cannot visit each and every unit. So accordingly, with respect to 20 units, there is going to be an audit team. Apart from that, there should be drawing up an overall audit plan and audit strategy, and deciding the materiality levels and the sampling levels, how much material is going to be audited, from where you are going to collect your samples, and at the end, you are going to have management assertion, test of control, test of details, and management representations in case of any, if so required. So let us say if the auditor wants to know about a particular aspect, he would be directly approaching the management that, sir, I want more clarification of this. I want this, control to understand that why you are implementing this. I want to understand about your accounting policies. Then in that situation, it straight away is the responsibility of the management to explain those things to the cost auditor only. Now, moving ahead, the next is, and see, again, you need to find out those areas which are very much prone to the risk itself. That depends upon the company to company. And whenever, it's again a very good practice. Let us suppose that you are appointed in a company. You are going to approach the previous cost auditor, right? See, as what we have seen so far, that earlier there are not uh, those restrictions like a statutory auditor, that you are going to continue like for a period of 5 years, and after that there will be reappointment. In cost auditor, secretarial audit, there are no such restrictions as so far. So what you are going to do, it's a good practice to check with the previous cost auditor, or you can say the previous statutory auditor, right, and the previous internal auditor. So what they are going to do, they are going to help you with the discussion part. It's good to discuss with them. You will come to know about the certain areas where the risk lies. So why they are going to tell us? Why they won't tell you? Why they won't tell you? Because Sir, why they are going to tell us? Why they are going to tell us? It's good to have, see, whosoever is going to be there in practice, it's good to have good communication with people. It's good that you are going to have, a word with every person who is associated with you. See, the next is all about the key inputs for planning. What are the various inputs for which you have been planning? See, the very first is preliminary activities. Preliminary activities. The very first plan is you need to find out what are the various preliminary activities which are involved over there. Okay, sir, what is preliminary activities? Those, substantive procedures, analytical procedures, test of controls, test of details, everything. Apart from that, see, this can be one of the questions also. What are the key inputs for planning? That is knowledge from the previous audits and other engagements. You are going to check this with the previous auditors. Apart from that, you need to have knowledge of business. You need to be aware of that what is the nature, why we are conducting audit, and what is going to be the scope of audit, why the management has applied for cost audit. Is it only a statutory requirement, or else they are looking for cost reduction also? And apart from that, what is going to be my deadline, what is going to be my reporting format, and other factors where the audit may be affected. And apart from that, nature, timing, and extent of resources which are required, just like your audit team members, the number of visits, right, and the supervision which is required. After that, you are just going to document the plan and share it with the company that yes, this is going to be our timetable, this is going to be our plan, and in this way we are going to conduct the audit. Okay. After that, moving ahead, my dear students, the next is execution of audit. Now the plan which you have prepared so far, now it is the right time to implement that. Now it is absolutely the right time to implement that. Now you are going to perform the various audit checks and the procedures, and after that you are going to collect by the time you are conducting that audit, you are going to collect all the relevant evidences which are going to support you in order to, which are going to help you while drawing a conclusion. See, as the cost auditor report, as I have mentioned this a lot of times, cost auditor report is all about drawing a conclusion, giving a particular result, right? Giving a particular result, and this conclusion cannot be given just like, okay, it's okay, but this is my conclusion. This should be supported by evidences. Now these evidences are something which you are going to obtain when you are going to conduct audit. See, for every transaction, see, if you are saying that yes, the materials which are being consumed are low yielding variety, then you need to prove that why the materials, how can you say that? There should be a supportive evidence all the time, right? In order so that the evidences need to be qualitative and compatible. So first of all, whenever you are going to get an evidence, you need to check that whether they are relevant, whether they are reliable, whether they are accurate, complete, and sufficient. And after that, you are going to check their source and consistency. And at the end, my dear student, after that, we are going to prepare certain kind of drafts, and we are going to discuss the same with the KMPs. And after that, the final audit report is going to be prepared. That's all. And at the end, it's all about the audit documentation. Being as a cost auditor, I'm going to prepare my final audit report. See, when it comes to the documentation, that means whatever we have documented so far, from the planning stage to the audit working execution part, means when we have prepared audit working papers, when we have collected observations, when we have discussed things with management, everything is audit documentation. Right? Audit documentation means whenever you have prepared these kind of audit plans, strategy, working papers, audit evidences, draft observations, they all are required to be preserved. They are preserved for a specified time limit, which we are going to discuss not today, as we are done for the day. That's all. We are done for the day, and they are going to be preserved for a longer period. Depends upon from audit to audit. Let it be like, you can take it like for 8 years, 3 years, 5 years, depends upon the scenario. And this time period is something which we are going to discuss later. That's all from my side. In case if you have any doubts, although there should not be any, as we have discussed the same thing thrice in today's classroom. Right? That's all. We are done for the day, my dear students. Bye bye. Take care of yourself. We'll see you in next class. Bye.